All right. So I have this Excel sheet. I have this Excel worksheet that I am being asked to work with. So I am a new data analyst in an organization. So for first try, they gave me this data set to work with. Now, how do I approach this analysis as a data analyst, as an entry level data analyst? That is what we'll be doing here today. Apologies that you won't see my face tonight. Our light is bad, so even if I put on my camera, you won't be able to see my face. So apologies, you won't be able to see my face today, but hopefully tomorrow at the end of the training, you'll be able to see my face. Let's just focus on what we have. I think I've not shared my screen, sorry. All right, sorry for not sharing my screen earlier. I did not notice that. I believe you can all see an Excel worksheet. I believe you all can see.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry that I forgot to share my screen. So this is a work you are being given. So you will share this data set in your organization. So you're a new data entry, an entry level data analyst that was being asked to work on a project. So this data was given to you to work on. How do you approach this analysis as a data analyst? So the first thing you do in our process is what? Data understanding. So we use this process now to solve that particular data set. So the first thing on our list here is data understanding. So looking at this data set now, you try to understand it. You realize that this is a sales data for an organization. So you can just tag it to any hypothetical organization. So this is a sales data for an organization. And this organization is into the sales of electronics or into the sales of digital equipment like laptops, phones, and headsets. So you try to understand, first of all, what this data is all about. So looking at it, you see, you have seen category, you have seen sales rep, you have seen things like price and revenue. You already know that this is a data set that has to do with sales, the sales of a company that is into this, the supply or sales of laptops, phones, and the headsets. So if you want to explain the business, you can say AMDOR Electronics is a business based in the USA that specializes in the sales of laptops, phones, and headsets. So that's a brief introduction to who the business entity is, because you need to tell us who the business entity is and where they are based, if possible, and the kind of business they are into. So you have understood the data and you have understood the business. The next thing there is the problem statement and the objective. The problem statement and the objective. Now, before you start doing those ones, before you start with the problem statement and the objective, what I normally do when doing analysis with Excel is I make a copy of these data sets. I will try to make a copy of these data sets. Now, the reason is because you want to have a backup of your data. You want to have a backup of your data. When you begin to clean your data set, when you begin to remove your rows, remove your columns, do some renaming, or try to add some more columns, you realize that you have distorted the original data sets. Now, what if along the line something happened and you made a mistake or you lost that data? How are you able to retrieve the original data set? So it is always recommended before you start your analysis in Excel, you always make a copy of the original data set that was given to you. So even if you need more information, you can come back to the original data set to track your information. So what I do here is I will make a copy of these sheets. So I'll come and put this. Okay. So with my holding my control key and my left click, I made a copy of these data sets. putting down your control key and you left click, you click and drag, it will create a new copy of your data set. So I have a copy of this data set now. I will rename this to product sales clean. So this is where I want to start working on my analysis. This is my original data set that I will not touch. It will just be the way it was given to me. I will now start working on this particular data set. So here we have the problem statement and the objective. So the problem statements we could have here, we could say that we are interested in understanding the profits of this organization, or we want to understand how sales, what is the sales trends of this organization. That is what a problem statement. Now, we were not given any problem statements. There was no PDF or any instruction on what should be the problem statement. So if this was to be a pet project or something you're doing on your own, you can on your own side develop a problem statement, because you have understood that this data is a sales data set. You can now try to think of a statement of a problem that you always notice in the sales sector. You know that those places, they're always conscious about performance, sales performance, whether they reach their target for the year or for the month. So here, I'm trying to say that this business wants to understand its sales performance over the year. Now that is a problem statement. Now you now begin to ask your business questions. You now begin to ask your business questions. So one of them I will ask here. I will say, okay, what is the total revenue generated? What is the total quantity that was sold? How many sales reps did we hire in the last in the previous period or in the current year? What type of products are we selling? These are questions that relate to the problem statements. The problem is we want to understand sales performance of Amdoranalytics. So you now ask questions that reflect on that problem statement. Now that you have asked your problem statements, you now move straight to your data cleaning. Now that you have asked the business questions, now that you have asked your business questions, you now move straight to the data cleaning. So here is the data we want to clean. This is the original data set. This is the one we want to clean, because this is the one we will use for our analysis. So we want to clean this data set. Now, when you talk about data cleaning, it simply means trying to standardize your data to make sure that the entries you have or the value you have matches your expectation for analysis. Data cleaning is something that every analyst performs. If you're someone that always reads about data analysis blogs or these articles, you will see people telling that this is the most studious part of data cleaning, of the data analysis. The data cleaning is the most studious part of data analysis, because this is where you begin to think about the columns you keep, the ones you remove, if the data is enough for you to conduct your analysis. So too much brain work goes into your data cleaning. And if you don't get this step right, you end up given a faulty analysis recommendation. If you don't get this step right, because when you start using what we call pivot table in Excel, if your data is not clean, pivot table will not give you the right analysis. So it is always recommended that you make sure that this step is gotten correctly. Sometimes people will do this step. When they are done, they'll go over to plotting their graph. Something might happen along the line. They will still come back here, because this is like the foundation of the chart you plot. If you miss this step here, you have missed almost everything in your visuals. So data cleaning is just basically trying to standardize your data, try to harmonize your data to match your expectations that you will use for your analysis. There are different definitions of data cleaning, but the key word there is to standardize your data to make sure that it is what of the right quality. So right here now, if you look closely at this data, you will realize that we have some empty columns here. We have some empty rows that we are not even using. There's no values in it. So you have to delete all these rows and all these columns. But before you do that, in Excel, it's recommended that you convert your entire data set to a table. It is recommended that you convert your entire data set into a table. So we want to convert this data set now into a table. So I'll highlight everything in my data set here. On the Insert tab, I will click on Table. I will choose my table has headers. I will click on OK. Now I have converted my data into a table. So it will help me now to start doing my data cleaning. Now this is an empty column that has nothing in it. That means there's no particular value that we can get from this column. So we can simply right click here and delete it. Now we are trying to standardize our data for it to be of the right quality before we can start doing our analysis, which is to plot our visuals. We have rows here that are empty. You can right click and delete. Now we are gradually approaching to a very standardized and quality oriented data. Now we have done removing columns and removing empty rows. The next thing you can check here is the column names of your data, are they correct? The column names of your data sets, are they correct? Now we have dates, we have products, we have category, we have sales rep. Now this column here, you see that there is no column header here. Don't have any column letter here. So this should be the state column, but there is no title here. So you can come and rename this to states. You can rename this to states. Now you have a column called units. You have a column called units. Now units is not bad. Some countries will name it units. Units for we here in Nigeria, we call it quantity. Now, but before you accept this column header to be units, is it what is acceptable to your stakeholders or to your audience? Is it what is acceptable to your stakeholders or to your audience? You don't just use a column header because that's what you call it. The people that will be listening to you during your presentation and doing your analysis, are they conversant with the word units that is used in place of quantity? So you always also think about your audience. The title you're using for your data set, are they used to it? Are they used to that particular word? So if I know that, okay, my audience are not used to things called units, they're familiar with quantity and not units, I can now come and change this to quantity. Now note, I am changing this data set. I am changing this data set. If tomorrow I am presenting my analysis to my boss or to my stakeholders or to my audience, and I am being asked that they saw units in this data set when it was given to them, why did I change it to quantity? This is where you now explain to them the reason why you change a particular column header to reflect on another thing. That you now bring them back to the original data set, that this was how it was, but because of the audience and your listeners, that they are familiar with the word quantity and not units, that's why you change it to quantity. Now you have a backup data that can serve as evidence of what you did. So from where you are when you started your analysis to where you are when you started doing your data cleaning. So you have the date now, product, category, sales rep, and everything down to price and revenue. So you have the original data sets that you can fall back to see where you are when you started and where you are currently in your data cleaning process. Now we have the quantity. Now price and revenue. Now we're talking about price and revenue. Now this column is saying price, but is there any indication to us that this particular column is a price column? Now when you say price and you're being asked the price of this product, you're saying it's 2001. 2001 what? Is it in naira or in pounds or in dollars? What currency are you trying to present this price to us? You know, we have different currencies of the world. So which currency is this price coming from? Is it dollar? Is it naira? Is it pounds? Which currency exactly? So what we do here, we want to change what we call the data type of this column to currency. So we want to change the data type of this column to currency. So what we'll do here is you highlight all the values in this column. Highlight all the values in this column. Come over to your option here on the home tab, this option here. I now want to change this particular value to naira since we are in Nigeria. I'll click OK. Now you see that I have now changed this column to what? To a currency. Now if someone is asking me how much is this particular product, I can say it's what? 2001 naira or 3,000 naira. But previously, when it was just a numeric value, you can classify or categorize it to a particular currency. Same thing applies to region revenue. Now, this revenue was given to you. It came with this data sets. But you know that revenue is always a derivative of quantity and price. Now, when you have a column that you know that it's a derivative of one or two or more columns, you need to verify that the value you have here is exactly what is meant to be, because you're now dealing with financial data. This has to do with money. You should be very careful when dealing with money for an organization or for an individual. This data was given to you, and they have already calculated the revenue for you, telling you that this is the revenue from selling 3 quantities of this laptop at the price of 2001. And they want you to believe it. But before you accept such thing, you need to verify on your own that these values here are exactly what they said it should be. You know, some persons can be cunning. Your HR manager can be cunning, you don't know him. Your boss can be cunning, you don't know. They might decide to distort the figure here. Maybe the exact value that was meant to be here was 7,000, but they will go and deduct the money and write 6,000 here for you and tell you that that is the right figure. And you, without anything in mind, you innocently go and report the figure. Tomorrow the business will fold. You are among those who folded that business because you did not do your due diligence before reporting that analysis. Imagine a company making a profit, so that I meant to make a profit of 3 billion, and you went and exaggerate that they made a profit of 6 billion, and the manager is happy that they made such amount, not knowing that it was because of error in your calculation. You went and over-reported the profits. If anything happens to that business tomorrow, you are among those who caused the downfall of that business. So whenever you have any data that contains financial data, always verify on your own that the value you're seeing there is exactly what is meant to be. So on our own now, we'll verify that this revenue is exactly what it's meant to be before we can now proceed with other things. So first of all, I will change this to my Naira currency since we are dealing with Naira. Now on this column here, I can just simply come here and perform what is called just a simple formula, because we know that quantity and price will give us revenue. So I'll write my equal to quantity multiplied by the price. Now, whenever you see this in Excel, this hash sign is Excel, it simply means that the value in this particular cell exceeds the width of the cell. This is called the cell. This box here is called cell. C-E-L-L. It's called cell. Now, sometimes when you put a value inside a cell, the value exceeds the width of that particular cell. Because every cell has a predefined and fixed width. So if the value in that cell is too much for that particular cell, it will now turn into a hash symbol. What you can simply do is you expand the width of the cell. So you expand or you double click. If you don't want to expand, maybe you don't want to expand, you can just simply double click on the line. You come over here on this top here, just double click to now expand everything for you. Now, when I do my comparison between the two values, I will notice that, okay, the values are what? Are correct. If you carefully look at it, you see that, yes, the values are correct. So I can now accept this data that the values given to me in the revenue column was what? Was correct. I can go back and remove the calculations I did previously. Now, I'm getting close to completing my data cleaning. I have removed columns. I have removed rows. I have changed the column name to reflect what my audience are familiar with. I have checked for this revenue column to make sure that the value I am seeing here is what I am expected to get. Now, the next thing you will do finally is you should check for duplicate values or duplicate records. It's very necessary to check for duplicate records. It could be that a particular transaction was reported twice. It could be that a particular transaction was reported twice in this data set. It's always necessary that you check for duplicate records. So clicking anywhere in my table range here, I will go to data tab. I will choose remove duplicates. I will leave everything as default with this option clicked. This one will click, leave everything clicked, click on OK. Now you see it's telling us no duplicate record was found. So we are done with our data cleaning. We're done with our data cleaning. It's now time to start plotting our graph, to start doing our visuals, which is what we have in this step, data visualization and interpretation. We want to start doing our visuals. The command in Excel that enables us to create our visuals is the pivot table. The pivot table is the command in Excel that enables us to create our visuals. Whenever I see anybody doing data analysis in Excel and they created a bar chart or a pie chart, any chart at all, that chart is coming from pivot table. There's no chart that does not emanate from pivot table. That's where it's coming from. It combines it with a pivot chart for you to get all those bar charts, histograms, and line charts. Now, what is this pivot table by definition? It is simply a command that enables you to aggregate, summarize, analyze, and visualize data. It does four core things. It aggregates your data, it summarizes, it analyzes it, and it visualizes that data set. These four key terms, if you know it, you have understood pivot table. the aggregate, analyze, summarize, and visualize. Now let's see it in action, how it can help us get that. Remember, we're working with this data we have cleaned. You see, we have gone from this original data set to something that is now standard. But if tomorrow we still want to start from the original data set to explain how the data was when it was given to us until we got to this stage, that's when you can now go back here to start explaining your process. That's why it's important to have your original data set as a backup. If you don't have it, how are you able to convince people on how you started and how you ended? Because they might have questions. Okay, show us the original data, how it was. I want to check something in the original data set. And when you have worked on this, how will you now get back that data to show them? That's why it's important to always make a copy, a backup of your data. So with this now, I will go to Insert. I will choose a pivot table. I will choose pivot table. Now, but before you choose pivot table, you need to give this particular table a name. This is a table now. When you come here and click Insert and choose table and click on OK, it will convert your range of cells into a table. So this now, you have to come here on the table design and give it a name. So I will call this AMDOR cells. What we have here is called a range of cells. A particular box is called a cell. A particular box like this is called cell. When you now have two or more cells, or like we have multiple cells here now, it's called a range of cells. I'm giving you terms that are used in Excel. It's called a range of cells. When you now convert this range of cells to a table, so when you click, highlight something like this, and you go to Insert and click on Table, and click OK, it will convert this range of cells into a table. That's where you now start seeing this drop down here by default, and the color of the range of cells will change. It has converted it to what is called a table. So this is what you now take to pivot table. Note the name, pivot table. So for you to work with pivot table, your range of cells need to be converted into a table before you can do pivot table analysis. So on the table design, I've given my table a name, AMDOR cells. These are the date of cells and everything. Now on the Insert pivot table. Now see that table name I gave this table. You can see it's here. The name I gave this table is AMDOR cells. You can see it is here. So that's why it is always recommended to give your table a name, so you're able to denote it when you want to go to pivot table. So I'll click on add this data to the data model. So when you come and click on Insert pivot table, just leave everything as it is. Click on add this data to the data model and click on OK. It will create a new sheet for you. It will create a new sheet for you. Now this sheet, you can call it analysis. So this is where you want to do your pivot table analysis. So let me pause for here and take questions. Does anyone have a question? Does anyone have any question? You can still type in the group chat if you can't speak here. The group chat is monitored. You can still type in the group chat if you have a question. So far, what I have done, is there any question so far on what I have done? Are you understanding what is going on? Is there anywhere you missed or skipped? If you keep silent, it means that you're understanding. Is that what it means? If you're keeping silent, it means that you're flowing with me. If you're flowing with me, can you give me a thumbs up or a reaction? Let me know that yes, I'm not talking to myself. Okay. All right. So let's go back to. So this is our analysis sheet, which we now use for our pivot table. Now on the right here, we have what is called the pivot table fields. This is the environment that you use to start plotting your bar charts, your pie charts, and every other chart you want to plot. Now, one of our question we asked is, what is the total revenue generated, and what is the total quantity that was sold? We asked, what is the revenue generated, and what is the total quantity sold? Because we understand that these questions borders around sales performance. Remember, there's problem statements. We want to understand sales performance for AMDOR electronics. So when you ask things about quantity, quantity is related to sales performance. When you ask about revenue, it's also related to sales performance. So we have got two questions that we want to ask that borders around the problem statements. Now, this question we asked, how do we bring it as a visual into pivot table? So looking at the columns here, the question is saying, what is the total quantity that was sold? So here we have columns, rows, and values. These three boxes here are the important boxes you will use when you want to start creating your visuals in pivot table. So I will come over here, quantity, I will drag it into the values. You see we have this quantity that was sold. We can come here and call this quantity sold. Now we have answered one question. So if someone is asking now, what is the total quantity sold? We can say it's what 26,260 products we have sold. Now we have gotten one question answered. We want to get the next question, which is, what is the total revenue generated? So what I will do here is I will make a copy of this particular one I have gotten. Make it easier for us. Just make a copy of this value you have generated. Come down here and paste it. You got this value when you dragged the quantity to the values. Now you want to create another, you want to answer another question, which is, what is the revenue generated? So instead of me going back to insert pivot table and everything, I'll just make a copy of the one I have plotted and paste it here. I will now come, you can see that we have two duplicate values now. And this one I pasted, I will now come and remove the original value inside it. And I have my pivot table available again. I will now take my revenue and move it to the values. Now, looking at this value now, this is called revenue. But can you interpret the value here? Can you interpret the value here? You see that you might miss the actual value that is being given in this sum of revenue. So what you do is you convert the data type, because this is a currency. Revenue, it has to do with what? Money. And money is currency. But if you don't convert the data type here, it's just looking at some random numeric value. So you need to tell us which currency are you talking about. So again, you come here on this general, you click on more number formats, go to currency, come down here and look for Naira. There are many currencies here. But for me to get Naira, instead of you to be scrolling up and down looking for Naira, you might not get it easily, or you might miss it if you don't know where it is. So the trick I normally use is I just come to this scroll bar here, I'll click 3 times here. I'll just click 3 times. 1, 2, 3. I'll now get Naira. So if you're looking for Naira, and instead of you to be scrolling up and down, you might not get it, and you might even miss it. So what you just do is simply come and click 1, 2, 3. Choose the currency you want and click OK. Now you see that we now have a currency. I think this should be in billion, 14 billion. It should be in billion. So you now have what? You now have the revenue. So I'll come now and change this to revenue generated. This is just how you use Excel to do analysis. All those visuals you see people doing on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and they're telling you they use Excel. These are the steps they use. There's nothing too complex there. It always starts with the raw data. You make a copy. Is that a question? I think that's unmuted. Okay, so you have the raw data. The next is the clean data sets you have. You clean your data set, you standardize it. You now create your pivot table, which is your analysis. You see that the thing is structured, is going in a structural format. You have your raw data, you have your clean data, and you have your analysis sheets. You don't just place it randomly like this. You just make sure that they are organized. You don't place it randomly. So when you're explaining it, you explain it in sequential order. You explain it sequentially. I started with my raw data, I came to the clean data, and now I'm in my analysis. So you have quantity sold and you have the revenue generated. Now, this is what we call the aggregate value. Remember, I told you that pivot table is what? A command that enables you to aggregate, summarize, analyze, and visualize. So this is an aggregate value. Or we can also call it matrix. It can also be called matrix. Now, why is it called an aggregate value? Now, imagine the president of a country coming at the beginning of the year to announce the yearly budget for the country. The president cannot just come and say, we gave 15 billion to insurance, we gave 10 billion to health, we gave 5 billion to education. Please, if your mic is on, can you please mute? You're disturbing my ear, please. If your mic is on, can you please mute your mic, please? So the president cannot come and cannot come and say that he's giving different amount to different ministries. He will first of all quote the actual figure that will be used for that yearly budget. So he will say for the year 2025, they are budgeting 14 billion for yearly budget. Who is disturbing me now? Please now.
I think you can mute him yourself. It's one Mr. Anifowoshi Abdul Karim. You can mute his microphone as an admin.
I can't do that. My colleague has left. I can't do that. I'm not a full admin. Abdul Karim, please, can you mute your mic? You're disturbing the class, please. If you can hear me, please, can you mute your mic, please? Now we have this aggregate value and have the quantity that was sold. This is called your matrix. So as I was saying about the president giving the yearly budget, he will come and quote the actual figure for the year. Now, from that actual figure that was quoted, business analyst or political analyst will now start asking him how much is given to education, how much is given to security, how much is proposed to health. That is where you now start summarizing. He will now say, okay, out of the 14 billion that we budgeted for the year, 2 billion is going to education, 5 billion is going to security. That's when you start seeing people coming on air and start saying that the money budgeted for education is poor compared to security, or is poor compared to health. That they're not prioritizing education enough in the country. But when he quoted that figure, 14 billion, nobody knew about the money that was channeled to education until he began to split that money to different ministries. That is summary. So for now, putting the value is what? Is aggregate value, your matrix. That's what people want to hear at a glance. For the year 2024, we made the total profits of 10 billion. That is a single figure. Now you can now come and say, for our branch in Osun State, we got 5 billion from there. Our branch in Lagos State, we got 3 billion from there. You're now trying to split that aggregate value to different branches. That is what is summary. When people now begin to portion that money, you're not beginning to analyze the figure. When you have now split this aggregate to different categories, people now begin to ask questions about it, begin to ask you how it's possible to go, it was low in this state and it was high in this state. You're not analyzing that data. That is what pivot table does for you. Aggregate, summarize, analyze. The visual is now when you combine it with pivot charts to now create your bar chart on your pie charts. You know, people are always good with what they see. They are good with pictures. So the visuals give them a pictorial view of what we are putting for them. Because saying it in numbers, it will not be clear to them. But when they see it in a picture format, it sticks faster to the brain. So now we have this aggregate. We now want to summarize it. So let's say we want to summarize this revenue generated by region. So we know we have a region. We want to summarize this revenue generated by region. So again, you just simply make a copy of the value you have already generated. Just copy both of them, paste it somewhere here. You now go and take a particular categorical value, which is your region in this case, and move the rows. Now, any column that you want to give you a numeric answer, you move it to the values. You can see we have a summation here for those of us that know mathematics or statistics. Anywhere you see a summation, you know it is what? It is what has to do with calculation. So whenever you want a particular column to give you its answer in numeric formats, you drag that column value to the values here. But when you want to just see the text values, you either drag it to the rows or the columns. If I drag this region to the columns now, this is how it appears. But this is not a right format to present your value. So that's why we always use the rows. So the column has its own use case too. But for now, we are not really using the columns. So look at this data set now. You have seen that we have now shared this revenue across our region. So we can see the amount of money that each region is generating. Just like ShopRite has its branches in different parts of the country. So they want to know how much money is the northern region generating for the business, how much is the southern region generating for the business, and how much is the western region generating for the business. This is now what we call your summary. You take your aggregate value and you share it across your categorical values. Now let's do one more and plot a chart, and maybe you can take questions. So let's say we want to summarize this quantity sold. Now we know that we sold out 26,260 quantity of our products. But this value here is the total of everything we sold. It's the sum of everything that was sold for all products. But we want to know how it was sold across the category of products, because we have headsets, we have laptop, and we have phones. So we want to know the category, how it was sold. So I will come here, the quantity, I will drag my category and place to the rows. Now you can see that, looking at this, that products under the headphone category were sold higher compared to laptops and phones. So products under the category of headphones sold higher compared to phones and laptops. So these are just categories. You know, under laptops, we can have different laptops. We have Dell, we have Toshiba, we have Lenovo. So we only want to know the category and not the product itself. For phones, you know, you have iPhone, Samsung, Redmi, and so on. But they're all classified under the phone category. So this is how we sold out in terms of category. If you still want to check in terms of products, you still have the you're still free to do so. If your interest is to check for products, you can still check what is sold by product. But for now, we only want to get this. Now you have seen this in table format. What you can now do is convert this now into a chart. So you convert this into a chart. So on the insert, you just click on any of these, the summarized value. Now your aggregate can be converted to a chart because it is a single figure. It's a single figure. You can't convert it to a chart. It's a matrix. But there's a trick we normally use in Excel that will convert it to what we call a card visual. But for your summarized value, which are these, you can convert these ones into a chart. So I will click on this. On the insert, I will choose recommended charts. See, by default, it's giving us a guess of the kind of charts we can use. So I will choose on column charts. I will click OK. Now we have this here. You can place it closer to the source. You click on this, insert, recommended charts. You see it's giving you recommendations. So if you click around to see if you can choose any one, I'll choose this one. Click OK. So I have the I'll have this here now. So you see I have two visuals and two aggregate values. Now this is what you now use to create your what we call a dashboard and start arranging your visuals. So let me show you something. So this thing now was created, this visual here was created with Excel. You can see you're seeing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're seeing the ABCD. This visual was created in Excel. So these are kind of things we teach you in our full program. I think in this one, I'm just trying to rush up and meet up with time so they will come and kick me out. But in our full program, these are what we take our time to teach you. It's a 5-month based program. You can't get it anywhere else for the price we are giving you. So we take you from scratch, even though you have not used Excel before. We take you from scratch. What is a workbook? What's a worksheet? What is a cell? What are tabs? What are ribbons? We take you from there, step by step. I don't think that you can, if you spend 5 good months with us, you won't be able to say you have mastered Excel. Of course, I'm the one teaching you. So I'll take you step by step, hand by hand, even if I've not used Excel before. Now, this was built by our previous students. I think the student has gotten a job, like a female. She has gotten a job now. She built this and we saw it, we liked it, and we picked it up. After the 4 months training, you get what is called a 1 month internship from us. In that 1 month internship is now you're now building project upon project upon projects. Because this is not where you just show your certificate alone and you think you get a job. No, you have to back it up with what? With projects, your portfolio. We show you how to build portfolios. We help you build your portfolio and show you how to host it. So that when you send people a link to your portfolio, they can see it online. We teach you how to use Upwork if you want to go towards the freelance area, to use Upwork. If you want to do a link, you want to use LinkedIn to show yourself, we teach you how to optimize your LinkedIn. So there are many packages offered in the full program. What we're doing for this one is just the bootcamp, just a 3 days bootcamp, just to introduce you to data analysis if it's your first time, and to what? To boost your curiosity to know more about the career path. In our last day of the course, for those who will be present, I will show you the exact tools you need to know and the exact fee, or let me say the exact pay when you know those particular skills. For someone that knows SQL, for someone that knows Excel, for someone that knows how to use PowerPoint or Power BI, if you know these skills, how much you can earn as an analyst who knows these skills. So that one is reserved for those who will come for the final day, which is tomorrow. So let's not go deep here. Let's go back to what we are trying to do. So now that we have these two visuals here, I can just take these 2 visuals. I will take these 2 visuals now. I will cut this, and I'll come here and paste it. Now you see, I created on that sheet. I created on that sheet where I will now place my visuals. This is where you now decorate your dashboard. This is where you now start designing your dashboard. So that's a dashboard I showed you. This is where you start designing it. So I'll call this dashboard. Now you see how structured and organized this sheet is. So anyone trying to review your work now has a structured way to review it. That's from the raw data, the clean data, your analysis, and your dashboard. Now, if I want to bring this one into my dashboard, I want to bring this matrix now into my dashboard. What I will do is I will come to the dashboard here. I'll go to insert. So this is a trick we use to bring in your aggregate value into your dashboard, because it's not like your visuals that you just copied and pasted into your dashboard. So on the inserts, you will see text box. You create a text box. Create a text box. Now click on your formula bar. When you create a text box, click on your formula bar, press equal to, click on your sheet name, which is analysis. These are things we teach. We take our time to teach you in our full program. For those that is like is doing like them like film, what is it doing? So you click on this value, which is your aggregates, and press enter. Now you get an error message telling you that the formula is missing a range reference or a defined name. Now this error message is kind of misleading. What it's simply telling you is you can't import this value. You can't import this aggregate value into your dashboard because it is a pivot table. So you can't move a pivot table into another sheet. The reason why we are able to move this pivot table was because we converted this pivot table into a chart. So this chart is reflecting this pivot table here. So if tomorrow any change was made here, let's say tomorrow phone had more quantity sold. So from phone now went from 4291 to 5,000. The moment this value here increases to 5,000, this dashboard will automatically pick up that update and refresh. The moment any value changes here, this dashboard will pick up that update and refresh itself. So what we do here to bring this particular aggregate to the dashboard is to make a copy of it. So I will do equal to, I will click on this original value and press enter. I will click here, equal to, choose the original value and press enter. So I have made a copy of my aggregate value. So this is what I will now move into my dashboard, not the original value, because I can't move this into my dashboard. Now, dashboard now, I'll come back here, click on the dashboard I have, click on formula bar, be sure that this one is activated. Click on formula bar, equal to, click on your analysis. Now choose your copied value and press enter. I see that we have it inside here. You can go to insert again, go to text box, click on this, come over here, do equal to analysis, choose the copied value and press enter. Now you see that I did not make any change to this value. I left it like this. Now let me format this to currency. Let's see what will happen to this value here. So I'll format this value now to currency. Let's see what will happen to this value on the dashboard. Now I've changed this to currency. That's automatically this one updated. Automatically it updated. I did not touch it again. The moment I change this to currency, to a naira currency, I just clicked on my dashboard. Automatically it picked up that update. Because this and this are what are now synced together. They are in sync now because of I made a copy of this summarized value with a chart, and I made a copy of this aggregate with this value here. So any change that happens here will automatically reflects on your dashboard. So this is what we call a real-time dashboard. So any change that is made to the source of the data set, the dashboard will pick it up automatically. So it's not you're sleeping by 1 a.m. and your company made a sales of let's say made more sales of a product. They'll now call you to wake up by 1 a.m. and start updating the dashboard. No, you can just be in your sleep and the thing will be doing on its own. What you just need to do is to monitor it to be sure that you're not getting any error in your data. Once you make any sales, automatically it will update itself and pick up that update. So this is an example of what we call a real-time dashboard. So I want to believe that what I have done here today, at least you grabbed one or two things on how to perform analysis with Excel. There are many things involved in it, but at least now you have seen how it starts and where it is heading to. If you're asked, have you seen can you do analysis with Excel? You can say yes, you can try. But if you now come for our full program, which is starting up on the 25th of this month, by the time you do with us for 5 good months, I don't think you go back the way you are. Be confident that yes, you can do this thing as an analyst. And not only are you doing it, we'll guide you, we'll show you the pathway, links for job offers, how to present yourself as a personal brand, how to market yourself as a personal brand, either on LinkedIn or Twitter. So today is trying to do a simple analysis with Excel using our data. So this is where you now start trying to beautify your dashboard and everything. So we'll leave the final part of the dashboard for tomorrow, because it takes time to design a dashboard. It's also a class on its own. It's also an entire class on its own. You change color, you remove the unwanted variables, you put title. For example, now you're seeing that we have this value here: 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, and so on. Now these values are too much for this graph. They are called a noise. They are called noise. So what I might want to do here is shorten these values. So instead of me seeing this value in full, I can be seeing something like 6 billion, like 6B, like this, 6B, 5B, 5.7B. If it's a million, I'll be seeing 5.7M. So I will not be seeing these full values like this. I'll just be seeing it in 5.5K, 2.3M. You know, all those social media likes that you see, 2.5K, 2.5M. Because leaving it like this, the values are too much, and it is what affecting this chart. It's not giving it enough room to balance itself. Also, your choice of colors. That is, we call chart noise. Unwanted values on your charts, you remove them. Things that are not important in your dashboard, you remove them. This is also a class on its own. So what you just need is a guided tutor, a guided mentor that will take you step by step on how to do this thing. You've been doing this for a very long time. It's not entering. Come to us, we'll guide you. You're not understanding when to use Excel and Power BI, or want to use an SQL, no problem. We are there for you. Anything that you need to know in the data analytics that is hard for you, no problem. We are there for you. So just come as you are, and you won't go back the same. So we'll stop here for today. This is our second day. I want to believe that today's class was impactful to you and you got value from it. So I will take questions before we conclude. So any question? I want to believe you have question. Don't say no. So any question, please. Is anyone speaking? Divine, are you speaking?
Yes. Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah.
I was not around when we started the class from the first set of the Excel, so I'm a bit confused from the beginning.
Okay. Were you in our fourth class?
No, I was not. I joined the class today.
Okay. We started yesterday, and we have a recording of yesterday's class. So if you feel the attendance in the group chat that was shared in the group chat, they will send you the link to the recording. So the reason why you're maybe a bit confused now is because maybe you don't know how it started and where. That's why you're confused. But if you register your name in the attendance, the link to that recording will be shared to you. So you take your time and go through it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. So who else has a question?
Good evening, Mr. Ifeanyi. I'll say a very big well done. Thank you so much. Yeah. You're so explicit with your explanation. Mine is not really a question. I do understand what you explained. I loved everything. The process is clear enough. The only concern I think I'll have is the fact that while you're doing the dragging, while you're picking stuff on the right into the center of your spreadsheet, you weren't like kind of probably roll your cursor on it so that maybe I'm a bit slow. I will just see that you already have the figure on the screen. I wouldn't see where you dragged it from because you just picked and dropped. While I'm trying to trace my eyes to where your cursor was coming from, sometimes I don't know where you got it from. So maybe by the time we get to the main class, definitely, if you don't want us to drag you, or if you don't want someone like me to drag you back, you might want to roll your cursor on where you're getting whatever you're dragging from, so that I will know that, okay, it's coming from here. I won't just see something like abracadabra is appearing on the screen and it's creating images and just like that. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I do understand
Same
you.
thing
Like,
with me. Thank you, Fumi, for bringing
uh,
that up. I wasn't really
Thank
getting what
you.
he was
Thank you,
clicking on
Hilda.
the next step. Thank you, Fumi. Yeah.
all right, all right. Like I said, you know what happened yesterday's meeting. For those who were around, I was still explaining, and my boss came in and said we should round up. So I was trying to meet up with time. But these are things you have to get in the full course. That's why the full course is there for you. I wouldn't in the full course now be rushing myself. I'm still doing myself if I'm rushing in our main program. I can't be rushing in our main program, but that one we have enough time to go step by step. So that's the benefit of a page program. Here now, I'm just trying to, it's just a 1 hour, 30 minutes class. You won't expect me to be doing it small, but I want to reach a particular stage. So if you can join us, if I know, but I know you will. So for those here also are feeling convinced, this is what you get in the full class. This is the full package. For a duration of 5 months, we'll take you step by step. Because I see that, like Mrs. Fumi has said now, I think she's a slow learner. So she won't expect me to be rushing in class. No, I can't. If I do one, I'll tell you, have you gotten it? So at least if you did for the first 2-3 weeks, you should be able to get up to speed before you can now start continuing with other ones. So apologies if I was rushing, but I was just trying to meet up with time. So I hope I'm forgiven.
That's fine.
All
You're
right.
forgiven. That's fine. We just hope that we will see where you're dragging from. You'll not be doing a magic on that
No,
when the
no,
main
no,
class
no,
starts.
no. I would not.
I
Obviously, I
I
would.
do understand. I just need to know, oh, where's this coming from? Like that's
Okay, okay,
thank
okay.
you so much.
Yeah, yeah. Any other question, please, or concerns that you have? It's also a feedback to me to improve. But as you said it
Oh,
now, I've
sorry, I
taken note
now
of
have
it.
a question. The question is just
Yeah,
popping up in my head now. Number
yeah.
one, is the class weekly? If it's weekly, how many times in a week? And then what time have you been doing it? Because one has to know all of this before we can know if it's something that can come in into our program. I like this time, but I don't know if it's also convenient for any other person that is willing to join the class. You've done it before. What time were you doing it? How many times a week? And what does the timetable look like? You've already told us yesterday that you're going to be taking just the three major tools in data analysis, the SQL, the Tableau,
Power
and
BI. Yeah.
Excel. So when do we do it? As in, when were you teaching them? How was the class scheduled? To be sure it's convenient. And what's the modality with the classes like? Do you just give us
Okay,
something to practice with and start
okay.
struggling?
Okay. I wasn't the tutor that taught the last cohort. So we have the last tutor that taught the last cohort is still taking his own cohort. So this is a cohort that was assigned to me. So I wasn't the tutor that taught the last cohort. We always do this cohort. Like next month now we'll have on that cohort. So for those who register for that cohort, I may not be the one that will teach them. Unless the tutor will take over from them. So for this cohort, and this is my first cohort. But normally the class starts by 5 p.m. But if there is still room for adjustment, we will still meet with management. So they will talk that one out. It's always trying to put a time that the students will feel safe with. So, but normally the time is 5 p.m. But if there is still room to change the time based on the students' agreement, it's still fine. We are still flexible to change the time. There's no room. There's still room for adjustment. The reason is because when we put it by 7, sometimes because the class is a 3 hours class, the full program is a 3 hours class. Sometimes 2 hours 30 minutes. We realize that students might start feeling tired by 9:30, 10. But if we start by 5, at least before 7, you're done. You can now go and refresh and maybe do other things. But there's still room for adjustment, and we are flexible. When you come in for the full program, we can still talk about those ones. It's nothing that we are fixed on. We can still talk about it. All right. Alfred, do you have anything
So
to
three
say?
hours
I know.
once a week. 3 hours
No.
once
Okay.
a
Yes.
week.
Yeah. Sorry. Saturdays and Sundays. Now
Ah,
we have
that's
Saturdays and Sundays. Now we also have what is called let's say it's a Q&A session within the week. So after teaching Saturday and Sundays, we give assignment or take home a task. Now within the week, it can be Wednesday or Thursdays. I will now host like a live class. So I'll be there. If you have question on what you learned during the weekend that was troubling you or it was not clear to you, that is when you can now come like a one-on-one with your teacher. You now clear yourself out. But Saturday and Sunday is the main teaching. Now, when you now have a task and it's not clear to you during the week, you now come in either Wednesday or Thursday and now have a one-on-one with your teacher. You share your screen. Now it's now you sharing your screen and not me. So you share your screen. Other students will also be there if they have their own challenge and they learn from you and we make corrections. So that's how it is. That's how we structured the program.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I understand.
All right. Alfred, do you have anything to say?
Hello?
No, nothing from my end.
Okay. Yeah, define.
For those students, you once mentioned about assignment, take home assignment. For some of us that we are attending the class that don't have laptop, how are we going to submit the assignment? Because some of us are using our phone in the course of the learning.
All right.
So I don't know.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Even with phones, I think Microsoft Excel has an online version. Same thing with Power BI. They have an online version of it. So if your phone, that's how you can adjust your phone setting to desktop setting. So if you're using a Chrome browser, that's how a Google Chrome, Google Chrome browser. That's how you can adjust your phone setting to give you a desktop mode version. So Excel has an online version. Also on Google Play, your app store, you have Android versions of Excel. Also for your SQL, there's also apps that you can use for those SQL. Power BI has an online version also. So what you just need to do is adjust your phone setting to a desktop mode. So when you launch the website on your phone, it will think that your phone is a desktop and it will now load the environment for you. I know I've done it before and it works.
Okay. What I'm trying to ask is, can you please help us in the next class or tomorrow class to display how we can set it on our phone for people who don't understand perfectly?
All right, I will get that done tomorrow. So tomorrow is our last day. I'll get that. I'll show you the website and how to do it. I'll get that done. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right. All right. I think that's all. Or is there anyone that has any other thing to say? All right. So in the absence of any other discussion or contribution, thank you everybody for